the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game.
1 second left in the game. You believe in miracles? Yes. Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
Rick Watson's got the mic, he's the big dog king. Cover sports so sharp, it's a New River thing. Virginia Tech fire, rapid pride too. Every stat, every play, he's bringing it to you. He's got that voice, deep as a valley, breaking it down, no dilly, no dally. Big dog sports talk, feel the bark. He's got the scoop, faster than a sprint. Calling plays like a coach, every word's a hint. From the courts to the fields, the stories unfold. Rick's play-by-play, worth its weight in gold. With a laugh and a growl, he'll pull you in. Big Dog's podcast, let the games begin. Big Dog's sports, feel the ball.
It is a Hump-Day Wednesday edition. See, there is Henry the Camel. If we didn't have Henry on screen, then it would not be Hump-Day. See how that works? That's a clue. It's a clue. How's everybody doing? Yeah, man, we're straight fire. We are straight fire today. Straight fire. Deion Brown joins us. Coming up at 6:30. Damian Sordelet, get you all primed and ready for the big bad spring game. David Teal and the director of athletics at James Madison, Matt Rohn. Now that's a lot of show on a Wednesday. Free valued entertainment, free. All you got to do is hit the subscribe button. That's all you have to do. Subscribe, like, and share, and you get that. You can hit us up in the McClellan chat room. Mark Hunley, 155 Walters Drive, or on the Professional Door Incorporated text line, 391-0788. Travis Williams, right across from the New River Community College. 38 years, professional, residential, commercial garage doors. And we are broadcasting live from our Family Fencing Studios. Hope everybody's doing great. Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, TP. Good morning, T-Bird. Good morning, the Vic Master. I feel like he's got to be the Vic Master, right? Not just Vic. Stephen, what's up? Good morning. How's everybody doing? Teams can contact the Raiders all they want. But if they pass on Fernando Mendoza, then they deserve to be a horrible organization for years to come. They will decline those trade requests. If someone said, hey, we'll give you 3 number ones, then you might listen. Good morning, Chris Lester. How are you? Good to see you, brother. And yes, we are family. We are. Hey, Alabama checking in. Insatiable. Good morning. Yeah, the Diana Rossini resigned from the Athletic because of her affair with Mike Vrabel, the Pats coach. And when will he answer for this? It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Photos of them together popped up. In this day and age, thinking that you can be a high-profile person just like the senator out in California who was going to run for governor, right? Oh, my Lord. What are people thinking, man? But anyway, to think that you can, in this day and age where everybody's got cameras and everybody wants to try to think that you can just do that is crazy. What gum does Henry chew? I'm going to guess he's a 2-hump Campbell. I'm going to say probably he likes a nice hankering of Big Red. He likes that little spice because he's out in the desert all day, right? Nothing but sand bouncing around. So he wants something with a little kick. Remember Big Red, how good those first couple chews used to be? But the best gum of all time was the gum that came in the Big League chew bags, the shredded bubble gum. And I don't know about you, but didn't you used to pretend like I'd keep it in my back pocket? Like when I played softball and I was in the rec softball league, I'd have my Big League chew and I'd get it out like I was actually chewing tobacco. Just love Big League chew. What's going on? Prometheus, bringer of fire. Oh, Hubba Bubba was good too. Yeah. Hubba Bubba was a lot, right? It just had flavor for a long time. Yeah, Fruit Stripe. Yeah. Fruit Stripe gum. You'd always get the Fruit Stripe gum out for my grandmother at church. Like, she'd always have Fruit Stripe gum. I remember that. Yeah, Hubba Bubba was good. Now, which one was Hubba Bubba? The one that you could bite into and it had the juice in it too? What was that Hubba Bubba? You take like a couple bites. That was cool. I remember what that was. Was that Hubba Bubba? I'm not making that up. It was. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So, yeah, Hubba Bubba's right up there. Absolutely. What a great name, Hubba Bubba. Is that still around? Do they still even have cool things like that anymore? Juicy fruit. I've seen meaty people jump all over the text line. You're leaving out juicy fruit. I'm not leaving it out. Love juicy fruit. Absolutely. 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 Look, Paulo. Big League Chew. Yeah, exactly, James. That's my favorite. That's my all-time favorite is Big League Chew. Love Big League Chew. I did. And from time to time, I would go, even recently, I would go and buy when I'd see it somewhere, get one. Bubble tape. Yeah, that kind of took over, didn't it? The whole bubble tape craze. Which brand do you think, Mark asked on the professional door text line, blew the most bubbles, the best bubbles? Oh, I don't know. Probably Hubba Bubba, right, Chris? The zebra gum has been discontinued. You may have at some point, Prometheus. That might be true. But a lot of times, most of the time, I just remember opening it up. They may have done a promotion with a baseball card. You just open it and just have the pouch. And then you walk around with it in your jaw still. Yeah. I got my big league shoe. Let's go play some ball. So the zebra gum, I remember that. I know exactly which one you're talking about. That was the one that he mentioned earlier, Fruit Stripe. So Fruit Stripe is gone, James Bond says. Yeah, the best gum for Hubba Bubba and Big League Chew. Yeah, agreed. Shredded jerky. I know one thing. The only jerky, well, not the only, because I like beef jerky, but that bacon jerky from Jack Link's bacon jerky. Whew. Now, basically, you're eating bacon, but that's okay. That's my fave, man. You can't beat that. You just can't beat that. But yeah, in one of the most embarrassing statements, Diana Rossini, she resigned from The Athletic, didn't apologize for her actions. She was the one always going around bad-mouthing her husband. She's been having multiple affairs, allegedly. And now she gets caught with Mike Vrabel. Didn't apologize, blame people, other people, obviously. Didn't take any responsibility. Hey, Morris, what's up? Let me go back and look. Did your opening post go through? It did not. But that one did, so you should be okay. I did not see the opening post. Other peeps can let me know. Well, ask Keon Brown. I get a feeling Keon's probably a big gum guy. I wonder if he's a big chewing gum guy, bubble gum guy. We do, James, but we do have coming up, we have a Big Dog Pop channel. It's going to be pop culture. It's going to be on this channel, but it's going to be a different show. So we like to talk about different things. We're getting into the non-really active sports months after spring football's over. So we start getting into all sorts of things. So to be honest, nothing's off limits. Nothing's off limits. So, but yeah, we are a sports show. We are. From the grave of Oscar Underwood from Alabama, dig his ass up and beat it for sponsoring the bill creating the IRS in 1913. How could one idiot be that mean? BDST don't like taxes. Love it. That's the open from Morris today. Good stuff. Good stuff. Exactly, Prometheus. Yeah, Mike Vrabel needs to be fired too. I could not agree 100% anymore. Where's his statement? Where's the Patriots statement? Where's his personal responsibility to his wife and his kids? What NBA team would I want to be? I'd like to go back in time and be the broadcaster for the Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls. Or maybe the old Celtics teams. Current NBA teams, not interested. I couldn't get enthralled enough, Vic, to sit there and feign excitement over NBA games today. James says, I've never been on sports person. That's okay. My uncle is a college Madden game from his time at sea. Oh, very cool. Really? Your uncle's in a Madden game. That's very cool. Well, subscribe anyway, James. And, like I said, when we start the pop channel, it'll probably be more up your speed, maybe, But, yeah, we invite everyone. We invite everyone. Don't know why I brought up gum. I'm still swollen, recovering from oral surgery. Oh, I'm sorry, T-Bird. What's happened, man? You okay? Did you have jaw surgery, teeth surgery? You do the Hornets, Chris? Okay, well, that's fine. Then again, if they paid you like you feel like you should be paid, then you'd be generally excited. Then that changes your whole But current team, oof. I don't know. That's a good question. I just don't know. Everybody getting all excited over these high school recruits. Here we go. Thanks, Big Dog Red. I appreciate that. I was going to do some trolling, but I can't now because you seem like a good dude. I think I am. I try to be a good dude. Well, that's cool, James, that you had, you know, in the Madden game. That's cool. Your dad's in a Madden game. Oh, first steps of another dental implant. Well, man, well wishes to you, T-Bird. Extraction and bone graft. None of that at all sounds favorable. Sorry, man. It's the worst place on earth for me is the dentist. Ever since I was small, it gets worse as you get older. It doesn't go away. We're going to start it once I get all my spring seasons over with. So we're looking at late May, Vic. And it'll be a little more unfiltered. How about that? We're thinking about you, T-Bird. Sorry, man. Sorry, man. Why wouldn't I be excited about high school recruits? Because you're assuming that this is still the days before pay for play. None of the guys that are committing are coming here without money being promised to them. Everybody wants to keep saying, hey, we're going to build our program and hang on to guys. Okay, let's see how this pans out. Unless we get some kind of rules in place, let's see how this pans out for guys who are going to come somewhere because the money's good, and then they end up sitting 2 or 3 years. You think guys are going to sit in Blacksburg for 2 years to wait to play in this current me now? Okay, he can disagree all he wants. But he knows the rules. He knows what he's looking at. He knows his budget. We don't get those budget numbers. And you know what? If he ends up keeping these guys, then I'll eat crow. I don't give a damn. But everybody's still in the same mindset about high school recruits. Like, wow. Go through the country and see how many guys commit now in the spring that end up with that program 2 years later. Because the more we get into the money, the more we get into me, and the more that there's no limits, the less you can sit around and just completely assume guys are going to stay. How about that? I mean, in basketball now, I have coaches, there's 1 year and out. High school recruits aren't even thought of much in college basketball anymore. It's crazy. Not saying they're all going to leave. I never said that, Tebow. Don't tell me I said something I didn't. But to say that, you know, hey, we got 12 recruits and this is great. Okay, I hope so. I hope it works out that guys stay as long as you think they're going to stay. I'm glad you think that at Virginia Tech it's different than everywhere else across the country. It's not. As a matter of fact, we found out over the last few days that the money situation at Tech isn't what we thought it was. Yes, many of them will leave. Yes. I will stand by that. Many of them will leave. Correct. You're assuming they won't. I'm assuming they will. We'll see who's right. We have a differing of opinion. It's good. It's totally different now for us, you know, down at Radford. I mean, things have changed. We don't get much information about what's going on there now. I don't know. I just don't know. We'll see what the roster looks like. I think I've seen where 2 guys are back from next year, from last year's team to this year's team. 2. And that's why what Mike Young was able to do is cool, that he was able to get the big three back anyway. And they've added the kid from Oklahoma. I know they lost a lot, but to get three guys back, I know they paid a lot for them, but that's it. Okay. Well, I hope you're all right. I hope you're all right. I do. And I hope of the 20 to 25 he gets. Well, let me ask you this. How many of them need to be players that contribute before you think those 20 to 25 are impactful? How many do you think that will happen? Or I guess in your mind, how many of those recruits need to pan out here in this day and age of pay for play? I mean, that's an honest question. I don't know. You mean Duke basketball, Prometheus? Did they not use the portal at all? I guess that's true. You never really hear about guys from major programs going to Duke, do you? Because they get these NBA ready guys like Caleb Wilson was for Carolina, right? They pay premium price for them because they know they're going to be 1 year for the most part. Yeah, then we'll be talking to you, Bird. Yeah, if they get binding contracts and these high school recruits have to stay for at least 2 years, which is what's been thrown out there by both the presidential bill and was thrown out there by the NCAA, which I know. Then, yeah, you could get excited. But just look at the landscape. Have you learned nothing from the landscape of what's going on in college athletics? I mean, Mike Young on the basketball side doesn't have one high school recruit. And not even in the crosshairs. Now, I know there's a lot more positions on a college football roster, but we had Todd Grantham right here on this show say that any kid, high school kid, that's offered a scholarship is getting paid. So then you have a budget for your high school class as well. And if they feel like they're going to sit here and develop for a year, and they have every coaching staff has somebody watching everybody's roster of guys who aren't playing. And that's all it takes is one person to get in their ear and say, we can make this amount of money to come here. And then they're able to move freely. Maybe this is just my bitterness on the whole system that we have in place. It's not an attack on James Franklin, but I do chuckle when I see people get all excited over some high school kids, some 17, 18-year-old kid, say they're going to go there because they've already negotiated a deal and none of it's binding more than their 1 year that they're here. It's the system. And it's hurt the whole thing, high school recruiting wise, especially in basketball. It is rampant in basketball. I know because I just talked to coaches. High school kids aren't even, we'll talk to Keon about it coming up here. But the high school part of it in basketball, man, I mean, Carolina, and Marva's right because I looked into it a little bit yesterday. She was right yesterday. Abdallah signs with Carolina. Michael Malone pulled the offer from the kid. I think he was supposedly a 5-star guard out of high school. Again, we get into all these stupid-ass star ratings that mean absolutely nothing, but people still want to just clinch onto those too. So here's a guy who's a brand new coach at a blue blood. He's taking a guy who failed at one place, brings him in. I don't know what people are asking what they paid for him. I don't know. What do you think Carolina paid for Neo? What do you think? $3 million? He made over $2 million at Tech. I mean, I don't know the answer. I'm just trying to. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think they paid for him? I don't know. I just don't know. But I look at all these high school commitments. Yeah, it had to be $2 to $3 million. Had to be. It's Carolina, right? They got it to burn. But I thought that was interesting. Yeah. But he came in and didn't want him. He did not want the high school kid. And I got a feeling most of his roster is going to be built like his pro mindset. He's a pro coach. And that's why I don't think pro coaches have much trouble adjusting, because this is professional ball now. This is professional ball now. It is. That's where we are. What would I do if I were the Radford AD to handle the situation? It's a loaded question. You know, at our level, I hear all sorts of different stories and ways they're going about trying to build their roster. The big thing that I hear from our level, right, the coaches generally understand that they don't have a budget. Much of a budget. They have maybe a little bit if somebody's donated. They don't have, FU money like the Powers. They just don't. So a lot of these coaches are just very honest with kids. And they just say, look, you're probably not ready to make the jump where you are now if you're at a D2 or at a lower, D1, whatever. If you come here, if you come to a Radford, if you come to a Winthrop, I'm going to separate High Point because they have right now, I've heard they've added even more to their budget, which last year was around $4 to $5 million. So High Point's going to spend rumored that they're going to spend like $7 million out of the Big South on their basketball roster. How about that? Private school, keep in mind, private schools do business differently. So throw them out. But the Radfords, the Ashevilles, all this stuff gets completely changed around when you just look like, all these things. Yeah, I figured I would be, Morris. No shock there. Correct. Even of high school recruits, and this isn't everywhere. There's exceptions everywhere, both for what I'm saying and from what Tebow's saying. High school recruits may arrive all dedicated. Oh, it's a family, but they immediately be disillusioned with the lack of team mentality they see in portal players. Also add to that lack of opportunity, and when they figure out money can be made elsewhere. And that's what the whole thing is built on. That's what the whole thing is all about. So you only have 22 starters in football. And especially at your premium paid positions, if you're sitting around and not getting many reps and not playing, you're not going to stay at that school. Right? That's just the way it works. That's just looking at it honestly about the way it works. There's that gentleman who's always very honest, Keon Brown. What's up, KB?
Rick Watson, what's going on, bro? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I can't complain about a thing except the pollen that's outside. I'm getting
Yeah.
murdered.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people around work are too. It's just
bad.
it's hit all at once. Yeah.
Man, this week has been awful. Like I'm on my last.
All right, let me ask you something. If you
Yeah.
were well, let's go through it both ways. Michael Malone is basically, he's already told the high school kid that was a 5-star, allegedly, he's gone. We don't want you. We're going to bring in Abdallah. She's got a pro mentality. If you were now a new head coach coming into college basketball and you've surveyed how it is and you accept the business part of it,
yeah,
what would be your mindset, how you would go about structuring your roster?
Well, I think veteran guys are what's winning right now. You look at Michigan and all of the guys that have come from the transfer portal has been guys with experience. But the first thing that you have to have is resources. If you don't have resources, if you don't have a school that's backing you, if you don't have an administration that is all in, then you're pretty much wasting your time. The reports were that, the women's coach at Charleston Southern left because of no resources and no support. That's what I was reading yesterday. So
really? So she left? She left the program?
That's what I saw on X.
Wow.
I saw it on X. It said, was no resources, no support. You're at Charleston Southern. How do you expect us to win? Yeah.
She's pretty good. She was good too.
Yes.
Did she go did she take another job? Do you know?
It didn't say anything about another job. It just said she left.
Wow.
So she
okay.
resigned. That's
I know
what
her
I
a little
read.
bit. Yeah, I got to talk to her over the last couple of years. She's a nice lady. I hate to hear that.
And I understand. In this new day and age where it's all about resources, that's how you win. It's hard to do what Mike Jones did, and you have little resources, and then you go on a run in the Southern Conference. It's hard to do that. So if you don't have the administration backing you, that's what's key. But I'm just getting veteran guys. I don't know if I'm going so much so with the high school guys as you would have saw a decade ago. The only team that's been pretty successful at that, and there's no surprise, have been Duke and also, Arkansas and Coach Calipari. They're getting the good freshmen that have been consistent since this NIL thing. But what we've seen in the past few years is that the way to construct your roster is by having veteran guys who can really go.
And if you're going to pay money anyway, which they're paying top dollar for those elite high school guys that would go straight to the NBA if they could, and some coaches realize they can't get that. Why would they spend money? Because you're buying high school players now too.
Yep.
You're not just inviting high school kids here and you're not going to pay them. You're paying them. Todd Grantham told us anybody who's offered a scholarship is getting money. So if you have that money, wouldn't you want to spend it on a guy who's proven he can play at that level as opposed to some guy coming from high school who feels entitled because he's making his first paycheck?
Well, I definitely would. I feel comfortable going through the portal versus going through high school because they don't know the schedule that it takes to be a Division I college basketball player. They don't understand that you have to wake up at 5 o'clock to make it to a 6 a.m. conditioning. They don't understand that right after conditioning, you have to go lift weights. And then right after weights, you have to go to mandatory breakfast. After mandatory breakfast, you got to go to class. After class, you got to go to study hall. After study hall, you have practice and film and rehab. And then after that, you're back in study hall and you're eating lunch in between that. And then after study hall, you're going to dinner, and then you got to wake up and do it all over again. The high school guys have to get used to that. Why do I have to teach that? Especially now when coaches are getting 3-year contracts. And it's pretty much after that second year, you're on the hot seat if you aren't winning.
That's a great point. They don't have time.
They don't have time.
That's a great point because of the environment. We just had the most college coaches ever at major schools look for jobs. They don't have time to sit there and say, "Oh, we're going to build through through high school for 4 or 5 years." There's no 4 or 5 years plans in coaching anymore.
Yeah, unless it's a Cooper Flagg or a Cameron Boozer and those guys are the national player of the year. Stick to the portal and those guys who have been there and done that. That's my motto. Until the NCAA changes it.
Until it changes.
Any other way.
If it changes back to a model that takes us back to high school, commitments mean more, then maybe I'll be more excited. But we're seeing it all the way across the country. All you have to do is look it up at how many kids committed, football especially, out of high school that are in the transfer portal.
Right. And when you look at college basketball now, we used to love, because we don't have access to it anymore, young players coming in as freshmen, and you seeing those young men grow up to be young adults by the time they leave a Radford. And that's why it's so near and dear to me. I came in as a 19-year-old, and that community got to see me for 4 years develop as a as a basketball player and as a man. And what also is long gone right now in college athletics are the rivalries. The rivalries mean more to the fans than it does the players. And that's just where we are right now. And it's really unfortunate. The networks can try to hype up these rivalries as much as they possibly can with their marketing, but it just doesn't feel the same. Richmond versus VCU doesn't feel the same anymore. For the community, yeah, the schools are 6 miles apart.
Sure.
But at the same time, you used to feel it on the court as well. The teams really didn't like each other, and you just don't have that anymore.
Matters to the fans. It doesn't matter to the players anymore.
It doesn't.
For the most part, it doesn't.
Yeah, I'll say for 95% of the players, it doesn't matter because next year I won't be on this roster.
Yeah, right. That's right. There's no commitment. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm committing there right now because they're paying me, but I won't be here in 2 years in all likelihood. I'm not making plans to dig in and be here. So it's just where we are. There's no fix on the horizon. I don't think it's going to be fixed. I don't know if ever. I don't know if it can say forever, but the presidential bill will get challenged at every faction. Nobody will take that seriously. And then the NCAA trying to act like it's going to institute this limitation. That's going to go straight to court, right? So I don't see this stopping. KB, am I wrong? Do you see it stopping?
You're not wrong. We can only hope, but we also know that there is hope that something can change because we talked about it last week. It's simple as 2-year scholarships. You leave early, you get a buyout. Snap of a finger, we can fix it. That easy. I mean, that changes so much in so little time.
It does seem easy.
That will be hard to do. But at the same time, it's the NCAA. Nothing they do surprises you.
No, or nothing they don't do. Yeah, nothing they don't do surprises. Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Somebody asked me earlier. This is good. Now you'll be all over this. Let's say you and I were hired to be a broadcast team. For an NBA team, our choice.
Yeah.
As long as it's me and you, who would we choose? I would let you choose.
You know where we're going.
Well,
you already know where we're going.
That old man doesn't count. I'm talking about upcoming new team that actually has good players on it.
Oh gosh. I'm still going to LA, man. Take me to it's LA. You wouldn't want to go to LA.
Do we want to live in LA? I don't want to live out in California.
Why not?
The taxes are horrible. It's led by horrible politicians. No, I don't want to live in it.
I hear.
We would lose over half our salaries.
Yeah, I'm putting that into the contract somehow, some way. Somehow, some way. That's going in the contract. You got to fix this somehow.
We couldn't buy a place to live, KB.
But if it's a young and up and coming team, if it's not the Lakers, because you know that's not my number one sport. You just know it is. Everybody knows that. I'm going to LA. But if I had to pick another, maybe. No? I like Charlotte right now. As far as exciting basketball.
That's what Christopher Lester's saying. We should go to Charlotte.
Okay. There it is. That's an exciting young team. You're talking about Con Knuppel. You're talking about LaMelo, Miles Bridges. They got a nice young core, a nice young group of guys over there that plays an exciting brand of basketball. If those guys can find a way to stick together, they'll be a real problem. It's fun to watch too. It's almost like a college team with how young they are.
Yeah, Charlotte too crowded though.
A lot of people are commuting to Charlotte. It's 2 cities right now where the young folks are going. It's Charlotte and it's Richmond.
If you're in Charlotte now,
Richmond is like a walking apartment complex. They're just building up. Like everywhere you go. I go to Richmond often, but sometimes it'll be a gap in there where I maybe take 6 weeks off from going back home.
Yeah.
Every 6 weeks is like a new apartment.
A new apartment.
It's ridiculous. But the young people are moving there, and people don't know how well Richmond's food scene is. People vacation just to go and eat the food in Richmond. That's how good the food scene in Richmond is.
I guess if you're in the city and you're not looking to drive into it, it's different, right? Than if you're get caught on all that traffic. And I guess if you work right in the city.
You mean the Charlotte traffic or the Richmond traffic?
Charlotte.
Okay, yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I'll take your word for it. I'd rather do that than live in LA, though.
I don't know. If I can manage or negotiate something, I got to go to LA. I have to.
Now, if we can negotiate our home let's say you and I have this massive home where our families can just kind of live half and half.
Yeah. You
Put that in our contract.
Yeah. Where's Never Neverland? You want to buy Never Neverland?
Yeah, let's buy that. Let's buy that.
Is that in LA?
We could just stay there. Yeah. It might be in LA.
Yeah. Still owned by the state, just sitting there. Just give it to Keon and Rick.
Hey, how about our guy Wu?
Yeah.
Played every game. Speaking of the NBA, Radford Pride, 10 years in the league in professional basketball anyway.
Yep.
How about that, man? He played in all 82 games for
the Iron Man. That's what we call him.
That's where we would go. What are we thinking? We'd go call Woo's games. What are we doing?
I don't know if I want to go to Detroit, though, man.
Well, I will.
Oh, man. That's a different topic for another day.
That's true. That's true.
Detroit has so much potential.
Yeah.
It's a city that could probably thrive in the next 12, like a decade plus. That's when that city will thrive, but there's so much that needs to be done with Detroit. But yeah, man, Wu, I mean, I'm not surprised at all. When you work as hard as he does and you are able to play through any little knack or injury, he doesn't care about it. And I've witnessed that for 3 straight years. I've witnessed the hard work of me coming into the gym at 12:30 a.m. because I forgot to drop off my uniform and heard him in there, working on his game. Nothing that guy does surprises me anymore. It just doesn't. It doesn't surprise me that he has beat the odds. It doesn't surprise me that he is a player that many thought would have a quick cup of coffee in the NBA and has turned into 7+ years.
I know.
It just doesn't surprise me. And now he's playing his way to another contract. And he's one of those guys that are beating the odds because the NBA is going so young. He's a guy that's going to be 33, going on 34 next year, and a player that's looking at multiple years on the next contract, not another 1-year deal, a deal where he can be comfortable for at least 2. And that's because of how hard he plays, how well he adapts to the game plan. They call him, the Swiss Army knife. That's what that coaching staff and Baker staff are calling him right now, because anything they ask him to do, he can do it. He's consistent on the defensive end. He always rebounds. He always steals and plays the passing lane. And still at this age, he's one of the top 50 most athletic players in the NBA. So, and a team like the Detroit Pistons and a city like Detroit is perfect for who he is as a human.
Yeah.
Detroit, not that far from Petersburg where he grew up.
Well, this is true. That's just
true.
So
at the same time, he's a guy who we say, get it out the mud. He understands, the nuances, how hard you have to work that hard hat area. And we talk about Radford, another place where people work hard to live a successful life. So he just fits it like a glove.
Now, what about our guy Carleek? Have things just kind of stagnated for him where he is? I mean, he seems happy and he seems content where he is, but he was knocking on the door to maybe push through and stay in the league, but that seems to have gone the other way. Now, what have you heard about him?
Well, he's in a good situation as well. He's playing for Partizan. That's like the second best league after the NBA. And, it was, I'm not going to say unfortunate, but kind of unfortunate that after he had that great Olympics a couple of years ago and he had the triple-double on Team USA, he has signed his contract a week early. Had he waited another week, he'd be in the NBA right now. He would have been.
Is that what they're waiting on, you think, for just to get him? Okay.
Because there was a full buyout after, he signed that contract. If he just would have waited, man, I promise you he would have been right now because he was one of the best players in the whole Olympics. There was a game where he was on the court with Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Jason Tatum, Bam Adebayo, Devin Booker, you name it. And he was the best player on the court. That just blows my mind. But you've seen him and you saw his development for 3 straight years with your own 2 eyes. Didn't surprise you as well. Didn't surprise me because the first time I saw him play, he came on campus after the season and he just played with the speed that I've never saw before, especially for a guy that never played college basketball. I've never seen anything like that. I said, Coach Jones, I don't know where you found this guy, what cage you found this guy in. Go back and recruit more guys like that because I had never in my life seen a player play with a pace like that, and they never stepped foot on a college court. I said, this kid's going to be special.
Yeah, and then he goes to Louisville and becomes first team all ACC.
Yep, second in the ACC and player of the year that year too.
I know. Well, that's good. How long's that contract that he has with the current team?
Well, he signed another one last year, and they love him there. He gets the MVP chance and everywhere. It's one of those for our viewers. It's one of those places where the security has the riot shields and the face mask, and the AK-47 is walking around. It's one of those type crowds and one of those type atmospheres. They take their sports there seriously. So it shows you how well he's playing. He's getting the MVP chance.
Well, I hope he seems happy though. That's the
he does.
Yeah, he seems happy, and that's all that matters to me. As long as he's happy and he's making a good living, that's
doing great.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Well, sadly, people have been talking about roster makeup. We've been talking about the Big South, Radford, and you and I have talked about it. Just about every coach in the league, they're one of their approaches, one of their selling points is, okay, look, we know you want to be here at X school. You're not there yet. If you come here for a year, we're going to develop you. We're going to work very hard with you, knowing you're not going to be here. So it's almost like the coach is now making a commitment to the kid's journey as opposed to the kid coming into your program to help it. And it's the only counter type of recruiting that leagues like the Big South can employ, because they just, other than High Point, which doesn't count.
I was just about to say that.
Throw them out of this thing because they're a private school. And I've heard they're going to go $7 million on their roster.
Well, I'm looking at the roster that they're developing right now, and the guys that are committing, oh man, it's going to be hard to beat them again next year.
$7 million, KB, out of the Big South. But anyway, so coaches have to go out and just say, we know ultimately this isn't your final stop. You don't really want to stay here, but we'll work with you. And in that, it's reality, but it's also kind of sad, isn't it? To hear
it is. And when you talk about High Point, you got to add them in there. It's a team that's just going to be sitting at the top of the mountain looking down at everybody else. And it seems like the other schools that had resources a season ago doesn't have the same resources this year because they're not making a splash in the transfer portal. I'll even talk about Radford. I remember last year during this time, it was name after name after name, Clemson, NC. You just don't see that now. So who knows what's going on there? But High Point is still making splashes saying we're going to double down. And with the success that we had and with the momentum that we had, we're just going to see if we can strike gold again and see if we can make another run in the NCAA tournament. That's what they're doing. And these other schools in the Big South, the rest of the league, we know who they are. You said it. They're committed to that journey. And it's not just the Big South schools, the other mid-major programs in the CAA and the MEAC and the Southern Conference, those lower-tier Southern Conference teams that are saying, right now I can't pay you what you want. Not even saying you're worth that. But at the same time, if you come here and develop, the schools will be knocking on your door. So you're pretty much betting on yourself. And you learn a lot about players at the same time if they're able to commit to you based off betting on themselves. If they bet on themselves, they are highly confident. If not, they're just trying to go where the money is. And that's what about 90% of the players right now are doing.
Yo, no doubt. No doubt about it. I mean, I keep hearing about any recruit that's approached in any variety. Your first contact may be with them. They may reach out, but the second contact is with their agent.
Yep.
It's amazing to me. I keep hearing for women's basketball players. I keep hearing about agents.
There's so many new agencies popping up.
Yes.
You
everywhere.
Got, just Net Hoop Sports Agency. And then you got Mid-Atlantic Agency.
Big business. Yeah.
A and B. I'm like, oh my goodness. How do you keep up?
I don't know. Footballs too. There's so many of the guys.
I know football is worse. I know football is worse.
Yeah, it's so much worse. So much worse.
You're trying to sell and then in basketball, I talked to a couple Division I coaches. It's like, man, they're trying to sell us their players, and the guy has 8 seconds of game film and 5 minutes of practice film. Anybody can play in practice. Everybody makes shots in practice over the course of the year.
Exactly.
Practiced in 100+ times. I can put together a highlight tape in practice. Show me what you can do in the game. It's like, man, guys just want to go where the money is. Guys are delusional at the same time because this guy's asking for 6 figures who average 2.5 points. That's a real thing that's going on right now.
Correct.
And I just don't understand it. Never have, never will.
No, I don't either. And on football recruiting, all these high school kids, if they're getting a scholarship, there's now like an unspoken rule. They're getting money. Extra money on top of their scholarship. Any recruit who's getting a scholarship at a school is getting money.
Yeah, So there's a couple of football players at the school that I work at that are getting recruited at the Division I level. So the coaches will come up there. The football athletic director at my school his name is Brown as well. It's Coach Brown. So whenever they say on the walkie, Coach Brown, you got a football, coach here to see you. I run. I got to go pick their brain. I'm like, dude, tell me how this thing really works. And then off of the record, tell me how you feel. All of them are saying the same thing. We're giving these guys money who won't even be on the field next year. So we have to scrape and scrap and find resources and find an extra chunk of change somehow, some way, just to get guys on our campus. And then you look, and then they get upset that they're not playing. And then the next year they're in the portal.
Correct.
I've heard it from 6 different coaches on the football side so far this year.
And that's what I was trying to. People are mentioning all these high school commitments James Franklin's getting. I'm just saying, okay, that's great. But let's see if they're around long enough to contribute. Let's just see because it's the mentality. It's not that James Franklin's doing anything wrong, but the mentality of what you're saying, the entitlement is already there when they're going to play their first year in college. And it blows my mind. We've gone from paying athletes what they should have been worth all those years they made billions for the schools and to where now it's just this free-for-all. It's just so ridiculous. It really is.
Now at the same time, it affects their mindset, because if I'm getting paid, a lot of guys are on cruise control and relaxing and are not as playing 100%. As hard as they possibly can. That's what's going on.
Absolutely.
And it's unfortunate because the harder you play, the better you'll play, and the better you play, the more you'll get paid. And you'll see guys complaining and pouting, and you hear the conversation. And I talk to all types of college basketball coaches. They're like, you walk into the locker room at any given time, and you can hear the conversation of how much money are you making? How much are you making? How much are you making? That's a real thing that, really can divide a basketball team. And that's been plenty of programs that have had talented rosters, but have had no success because of jealousy within the players based on how much money one guy's making and another guy's not.
Can you still be an old school coach like I had in high school? I mean, you had it in high school and college. Can you still be that coach today? Because it seems like every time we see a coach getting on guys, all of a sudden they show up on X. Oh, look how he's speaking to these guys. Can you still have that mentality as a coach today? Because you might upset a guy who says, you know what? I'll just go make my money somewhere else then, because I'm not committed to you. I'm committed to this check.
Yeah, for the most part, you can't do that anymore. The world has gone woke. That's what I call it. But at the same time, if you're a guy like a Tom Izzo, you probably could be grandfathered in. But there have been times where he's been on X and they clip him. But he'll go in the press conference and say, I don't care that you're clipping it. I don't care what you got to say. I'm going to coach. I've been coaching this way for 3+4 decades. I'm going to continue to do this. So whether you like it or not, I really don't care. And I love that mentality, but he's kind of grandfathered in. Those older guys are gone. He's like a dinosaur in the coaching world right now, because he's one of the guys that are just hanging on. He doesn't seem like he's going to be going anywhere anytime soon. So more to come from Tom Izzo. These younger coaches can't get away with it. You only can get away with it in practice. And maybe even then you can't get away with it.
Well, I was going to say, right, because then they'll go tell. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm going to go complain now. I'm going to go complain. You were mean to me.
Yeah, random compliance check. Give me the practice film. Let me see it. Let me see what you're talking about to your guys.
Rick Pitino, I guess, is still kind of that way.
Rick Pitino, yeah, that's another guy.
But you're right. It's only a handful. You're right, though.
Yeah,
100% right.
It's not many at all.
Because the NBA coaches, it's changed. They're no longer really coaching, or they're just managing egos.
They're managing egos.
That's all you're doing in that league.
Yeah. And I think they understand that as well. That's why a guy like John Beilein didn't make it in the NBA. He was
100%
like college players, but you got guys on the team making more money than you. So it's like, how do you do that? So it's like, at least for the NBA, I can kind of understand. But college, there's no way. If that trickles down to college where the players are making more money than the coaches, and they're just, oh man, I hadn't even thought of that. It's really over.
Was Brad Stevens the last college coach who went to the NBA and had success? I was trying to think. Joe Mazzulla, but he wasn't. Maybe who do you think? I mean,
Billy Donovan too before he got to Chicago.
Yeah.
But Chicago's not giving him much to work with, so I'm not sure if I'm really blaming it on Billy. I'm not sure if I can do that. He doesn't have much to work with in Chicago. He just doesn't. And that's why
you're right.
That's why he hasn't gone anywhere, because it's clearly not his fault. It's clearly
they don't have anything. Yeah,
right. But those are the two right there. Yeah,
but I can see where pro guys now have a little bit of an advantage, like Michael Malone, because he's dealing with all this already. I don't think it's going to be that much of a change for him, to be honest with you. The roster makeup,
that's why I say the jury is still out with him, because these guys are younger. At least the older guys in the NBA understand that their ego is bigger than what you can coach.
True. True.
Who's to say when Neov Dallas gets to North Carolina that he doesn't mature?
Correct. Yeah. It could kick in right immediately. Yeah. And he could be, because that was a big part of what you hear around it, as how immature he was this past year in Blacksburg. Yeah.
You listen, who's to say that? He's not American. He's not cultured here. Maybe he's entitled. Who knows? Can they coach that? We'll see.
Well, you played overseas, right? How long did it take you? Think about it. You were a professional in a European league. How long did it take you to actually go, you know what? I don't need to kind of feel straight. I'm sure you have to be blown away, right, when you got over there.
Yeah, I was blown away. It's a different brand of basketball for sure. It really is. And some guys couldn't get used to it. It took me over a year to get used to it. And by that time, I was like, man, I'm going to play maybe another season, and then I'm just going to go back home, because, the ball stops bouncing for everybody sometime soon. And I just realized that I don't know if I wanted to do this anymore. And I told myself, if I ever had those thoughts, I need to let the game go no matter how much I love it, because I respect the game that much. And that was my mindset for the whole thing. That it really was. When I had those thoughts creeping in, I said, all right, we're going to finish this season, maybe play one more, and then that's it for me. That's a wrap.
Well, but I mean, you understand the mentality of an international player. You were an international player.
Yeah, I really do. It's tough coming home, but I'll say this: I wasn't getting what Neov Dallas was getting either.
I know. No.
And I'll say this: it's different going from overseas or from America to overseas. From overseas to America, there's a better adjustment that you can make, because what you have access to over here. I'll say that as well. I will say that as well. When I was overseas, and this is not that long ago, I was washing my clothes and had to hang them up outside like it's 1993. Now you just put them in the dryer. Like that's what I'm saying. There's certain nuances of coming from Europe to over here that you're going to say that I can adjust to this better than I can at home. It's easier.
You're buying clothespins. You're out buying clothespins.
Yeah. And I was on the top floor of the apartment. So God forbid I, misclip it.
Oh yeah, you're looking down the street. It's hanging on some wire like 5 stories down or something.
And then you're walking down the street and say, "Hey, that shirt looks familiar. I know you guys walking
wait
down
a minute.
The street on."
I bet that shirt's clean, isn't it? You know why? Because I just washed it. That's funny. That's funny. All right, brother. Great stuff as always. I know you've got the countdown continuing on your class.
Yes, absolutely. 27 days.
27 days. I was going to get an update. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, next week maybe we'll actually try to get in. You ready? You ready for this? We'll try to get into the NBA playoffs a little bit.
There we go. Start Saturday. The play-in were amazing yesterday.
Were they?
Oh, absolutely.
Who won? I don't even know.
Charlotte won and Portland won. Denny Avdija went off. Denny Avdija used to play for the Wizards. They gave him up for nothing, and now he's an all-star in Portland.
Who's Charlotte play now? Who the Hornets play?
Charlotte played Miami.
Okay.
Yeah, they play Miami.
Right.
And that was the 9-10 matchup. So Miami's done. Charlotte lives to fight another day. The Portland and Phoenix game was the 7-8 matchup. So Portland moves on to play San Antonio. Phoenix has to play the winner of today's 9-10 matchup. So it's taking shape.
I'm going to be curious to see how the ratings go with all these different services these playoff games are on too. Like, how is this going to pan out for the fan?
I'm waiting to see that as well.
Yeah.
And you tweeted it and put it on socials last year. In order to watch all the NFL games next year, you got to have like 9 streaming services.
Yeah. 9 or 10, whatever it was. Yeah, I'm just like, really? This is where we are? Yeah. I hope that antitrust thing, I hope the NFL gets dinged for that. I think that they're looking into it to realize that, hey, we're the ones getting screwed, the fans, as always.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
All right, brother. Have a great week.
All right, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Get my best to your fam.
Absolutely. Will do.
All right, brother. Take care, man. Stay safe. Keep him around. Good stuff from him as always. Yeah, he was an international guy. He left America to go play overseas. Now he was starting his professional career, but still, that's what he was doing. So he could speak to that. He understands. I'm going to get Damien's invite out here. There we go. There we go. And I'm going to go get a creed, and I'll be right back. Hang on. There we go. Go lay down. All right. Thanks to Family Fencing, sponsor of our studios. McClellan Chiropractic. Appreciate them, as always. Mark Hunley, right off of Walters Drive. Want to thank Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. They are the presenting sponsor of this program. Thanks to Jonathan and Tim, Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg. Charles Lee, 553-2971. The BDST fan question of the week. That's brought to you by the attorney Ryan Pry. What was our question? We had a question. I forgot what it was. Remind me what our question was this week. Ryan, are you here? National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of me and, of course, this program. Professional Door Incorporated, residential commercial garage door, sponsor of our text line. Thanks to Travis Williams. ReadySetFund.com. If you're a group, organization, sports team, whatever it might be, you want to make some money, reach out to Bob Christ, BOBCRST11@gmail. Thanks to Sundown Electric. They have an excellent reputation, one of the best client reviews of any business in our region. Give them a call if you need any help around your home. Thanks to the NRV Super Bowl, where we're going to have our big bash. They've been serving the community for 25 years, 382-5525, and Lawson's Mobile Home Supply. Give James a call, 540-381-8011. Joining us now on the program, he is the Virginia Tech football beat writer for the Roanoke Times. Damien, you can come to our bash, can't you, in the summer once we have the BDST bash over at the Super Bowl? If we give you enough heads up, people would love to have you there.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah. Coach Elmo's going to be there. Jen's going to be there. Burnham, Rolf. Come on, man.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, come on over. Come on over. All right, man. Here we are. We're spring game week, baby. Well, I want to go through. Okay, take us through. We talked about this yesterday. Some of the things that came out were, really positive about the money, right? The biggest year-to-year they've ever had. But then at the end, it kind of got a little strange with how, we're already falling behind again. When Jay Pearson got up there and said, we've already talked to some coaches who are saying we're not where we should be. So what did you get out of the messaging that Tech was getting across a couple of days ago?
That, yes, all is in a better spot, but you can't just say, oh, hey, we got you the money, then wipe your hands clean of it. You got to stay on it. And that's kind of Pearson's message, is that he's essentially echoing what James Franklin told the ACC Inside Access crew of David Hale and Andrea Adelson when they came to campus last week, that these big programs have not taken their foot off the gas in terms of funding and how they make sure they resource the athletic programs, specifically football. And now that Virginia Tech is getting back to where it should be in terms of funding, you can't take your foot off the gas. And that's part of Pearson's messaging, is that, we're in a great spot now, year over year, we're in a better spot. We're doing better with fundraising. We're on pace to, be able to fulfill that part of the $229 million investment over the next 4 years, but we still can't take our foot off the gas. We have to keep going forward. And I think that was key. You go through that whole presentation. Witt's like, yeah, he makes his presentation, everything's good, but then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we're in a good spot now, but if we stay at where we are now and don't look at up in the ante, we're going to be in a bad spot. So we're going to get, or not in a bad spot, we're going to be in the spot that we were in when Witt made the presentation last August, of like, we're falling behind. So it's basically, I think Pearson's messaging was, we got to stay on top of this. We can't let it fall behind again.
But yet, this is where fans need to say, well, then how much are we talking about? You don't give us a total. No. We just need more and more. It just seems like a silly thing that, hey, you've given us a lot. We just got this new thing approved by the board, $229 million. So we're bringing in over $280 million, but it's not nearly enough. And we were talking about this with chat. How much can fans take? How much can fans continue just to, okay, you say you need more? And how much does it ultimately mean to fans just to win a conference championship or play in the playoff, to keep pouring money into this? It's just a bizarre situation.
It is. And I think winning, if the football program wins and is back in the national spotlight again, you're going to get more people wanting to come to the university. And that's where you saw the spike in attendance there in the early 2000s, and through most of that till Beamer's retirement. You had a surge of applicants because the football program was doing really well. And yeah, football is the front door to the university, or the front porch, I should say. That's how Witt said it. That, if the football program is doing well, you're going to have people interested and will want to come to the university so they can be part of that experience. So yeah, that's another thing. If you can get more people who invest into football or into the university by, applying and being accepted and coming to the university, then that helps as well. And if you have renewed success in football, that's going to bring in more dollars. So that's something I think is a big deal. Again, the board's going to be shaken up here over the summer when the governor appoints, I think, up to 5 new members of the BOV. And I just checked, Mahul is finishing Sandy Davis's term. Sandy Davis was a huge proponent of athletics.
Yeah.
Her former husband, Patrick Cupp, has a soccer stadium named after him, and the field for the indoor facility at Virginia Tech is named after him.
Right.
So putting someone like Mahul on for the rest of the term till June 30th is big, because everyone knows he's a big proponent of athletics as well. And Tebow's right, winning does solve everything. And I think when you hear Tony Roby say, hey, we need help with NIL, I think Mike Young's in the same boat. Considering the number we've heard Neil Abdallas is getting to go to North Carolina, which is preposterous.
What did you hear? We've been thinking at least $3 million. What did you hear?
Between 3 to 4.
Oh wow! Well, that's kind of what we kind of thought. Yeah. Wow.
Which is ridiculous. But he's going to be the 3rd or 4th option at UNC. And I will say that part of Malone's contract at UNC meant that they were have it. I think from a rev share standpoint, it's like $6.75 million, and football was bringing it is guaranteed like $13 million. So most all of UNC's rev share is going to football and men's basketball, and there's really nothing else for any of the other sports. Whereas Virginia Tech is being a little bit healthier when it comes to making sure women's basketball is funded. And granted, it's, men's basketball could use a little more, but the fact that men's basketball was able to retain 3 key pieces in Hammond, Hansberry, and Johnson does help Mike Young moving forward to next year.
I guess winning solves everything if it's football, because wrestling is winning, and yet they're still saying we don't have nearly enough. So depends on the sport. Depends on the sport.
Right. And wrestling's not a revenue generating sport.
No.
But the fact that there's interest in wrestling now with the way, with how highly attended the ACC championship was at Virginia Tech, they're going to be bringing in some folks, especially with the buzz around with Bo Bassett coming in next season. You get Caleb Hansen back after his redshirt year. There's going to be a lot of buzz around Virginia Tech wrestling, and you can see Castle Coliseum filling up pretty well. So, that's going to be a good sign for Virginia Tech to bring in some money. And again, goes back to the Castle Coliseum renovations and adding some premium seating and finding ways to enhance the experience for people who want to pay higher dollar to enjoy these events.
Did the President Sands early resignation, did that take anybody off guard, or was that part of the plan all along? Was James Franklin aware that was going to happen when it did?
I don't think he knew that, but I'd been hearing some things about, Sands looking at retirement before Franklin was hired or even considered for the football coach. So I would say,
you think that changes, because he talked about being in line with the president.
The alignment, yeah. So,
and now you got to bring in a new president.
That's where, so this is where Rakovich's comments yesterday to the board and my colleague at the Roanoke Times, Ethan Hunt, wrote about this. Rakovich mentioning that they want to get a president in place by no later than August and hopefully before July 1st. So this is an accelerated window because they said if it takes too much time, some really good candidates are going to go to other places and you're going to miss out on those opportunities because you want someone in place for the school year, right? You don't want to have this lag into the start of the school year when it's like, do we really want to come in? So he has an accelerated timeline. And he mentioned that if the governor has ideas of who she wants to appoint to the board, whether that is renewing Mahul and having him on for another term, bringing in some other people, they might be part. Like Rakovich said, hey, have them be part of the search committee, right? And that could help if the governor already has an idea of who she wants to appoint to the board. But that's a lot of options. That's a lot of people that she needs to consider. And Virginia Tech's already hitting the ground running. If Virginia Tech has an accelerated timeline, that means they probably knew Sands was in position to step down. And they wanted to be proactive, kind of similar to the football coaching search. They had to be ready to go, once the committee was formed. So I can see it, that them having someone in place before July 1 and a lot of the people who are part of the search committee that are going to be members of the board starting July 1 might have a big say in that.
What about the future with Babcock? How does that, do you think, did anybody ask him, even off the record, does this kind of expedite his timeline to retire now that we assumed a lot, right? You and I have talked about a lot here during your appearances that the connection there with Sands may be why, in given his situation, he survived what he did with the last failing of the hiring.
Right. Yeah. They're no longer going to be the longest tenured president and athletic director at the P4 level. You look at Syracuse right now, they're going to have a new president or chancellor here soon. He announced he was stepping down, and then I think it was a month later, the athletic director announced he was retiring. They go hand in hand. I think Andy Bitter said this on the Tech Sideline podcast, the AD and the president work so closely together that usually they're kind of intertwined, and it would make sense if the new president coming in wants to make a change. And you might want them, if that's the case, you might want the new athletic director filling out your athletic department because,
that's a great point. Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Makes
Because
sense.
also, Witt announced probably the worst kept secret on campus, and we've discussed this about John Boleyn retiring
I know.
on
I
June
know. Like
30th.
that.
I come on here and told you his
I
contract
know.
was expiring.
Yeah. It wasn't news. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, but a lot of people didn't know that.
Yeah.
But you want to have, if you're going to have a new athletic director, have the athletic director hire the pieces, fill out everything.
Correct.
Because I've heard the athletic department is woefully understaffed, especially with Hokie Club. They don't have hardly anyone in there. So, and that's why, like, the university side had to undertake the Invest to Win fundraising efforts, so that way they can get more people involved. So, excuse me, I'd say just get, if there's a plan in place, I would already have, if I'm Rakovich and Witt, and you get a sense from Witt that
they've had to have talked about her. Yeah, they've had to, like,
yeah,
okay,
you're going to have to have a sit down.
Yeah,
he's going to have to have a sit down with Witt and say, do you feel like you'll be, like, the new president's going to retain you, or do you think the new president's going to want to make a change? And if Witt says, I think the new president's going to make a change, then you say, all right, announce that you're going to retire, because Witt has said this is his last stop, his last job. And then we'll get the ball rolling on a search committee and get someone in. And then that way you can have. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I was going to say, how do you think the setup, because the AD right now has nothing to do with football. The new AD won't have anything to do with football because James Franklin is not going to answer to any new AD.
Right.
So how do you think that's going to affect the candidate pool? Because any new AD that's coming in is not going to want to have the thing out of their control. I think it's going to affect them more than people are thinking or talking about.
Unless you include James Franklin on the search committee, and James Franklin essentially handpicks an athletic director.
And that might be what they do. Yeah, that might be what you have to do at that point, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, because at that point, and I'm going to preface this by saying this is all speculation, and we're talking what if you could, and Franklin, in whatever interview he's given, is talking about alignment, right? Alignment between the rector,
that's all you hear. That's all
university
you hear.
President, the athletic director. If he can have some say in the athletic director making sure, hey, everything stays in line with the goals. That would be big. And again, that goes down to the board. And I heard on the Josh Pate podcast that Franklin did. He spoke with the governor, and he spoke with both Youngkin and Spanberger after he was hired, and he mentioned there needed to be alignment in terms of making sure football is funded. I guess make sure the entire plan that Babcock and the rest of the committee, athletics committee, came up with for funding stays in place. So I don't know. So that might be something that Spanberger has to weigh in terms of who she puts on the board, if they can make sure athletics is taken care of as well. So this is a pivotal summer for Virginia Tech athletics.
Yeah, it feels like it. It feels like it.
Yeah, with who ends up on the board. You need some people on there who will vouch for athletics. We'll also continue to push Virginia Tech toward AAU status, which I think that was one of Tim Sand's main goals, and they've, I think, gotten closer to that, even though they didn't get to it. I've seen some strides being made in academics, especially with the Northern Virginia campus in Alexandria. That facility that facility would have been in a great shape if the new Wizards and Capitals arena had been built there in Northern Virginia instead of staying in DC. But
I know.
But I think they've done a really good job expanding in Northern Virginia and extending the footprint of the university. But yeah,
if that happens, all of a sudden, then the Big Ten is on the board again, just in case we're looking at a new expansion down there, which we are.
Yeah, but I think with the but I think with the DC investing into a new arena for the Wizards and the Capitals, I think it's safe to say that they're not moving to Northern Virginia.
No.
But yeah, just with the naming of the new president, if there's a new athletic director, the new members of the BOV, when it comes to athletics, this is a pivotal summer for Virginia Tech to see where they go, in what direction the new president wants to take. So I guess we're in a wait and see mode. As far as I know, there's a few of us that will be talking to Whit early next week.
Oh, good, good.
That it will be interesting to see his comments about his future.
Yes. A lot of people are asking me, and I'm like, I would assume that he would follow the president. Would be my assumption, like you said.
Unless he feels like the new president will retain him, because I mean he's under contract through June of 29. I want to say so.
Hey. People,
I know.
Seems like that would bring down a lot of the vibe going on in Blacksburg from a lot of Tech fans, if that's the case.
Right. But again, you have to figure out what's your candidate pool for athletic directors as well. And that might be like, if you have a good pool of candidates for a president and they need to be in place before the athletic year or the academic year starts, it might be the same thing for an athletic director as well. You want to get them in place by the time the academic year starts, so then you can get the ball rolling on a lot of things. So,
well, we have a new trend going in college sports. It's starting now, right? We know James Franklin's not going to answer to any AD. He's going to answer to the new president, and he's answered, right? Tommy Lloyd at Arizona.
Yep.
Before he re-signed his deal, you saw it, right? He put in there, his agent, I won't answer to the athletic director. I'm going to answer to the president. I thought that was interesting, and we're starting to hear more and more of that. So this seems like this is going to be more leverage that coaches are going to use now going forward in their contract negotiations, which is strange, but it also lessens the effectiveness of an AD toward your power programs. I don't know. It's an interesting twist that we're seeing.
Yeah, and I don't think I remember. I didn't see anything in Franklin's contract that said he didn't have to answer to the athletic director. It might be like,
but he's not. Tech has it set up that way. There's no football.
Yeah, he's answering to the athletics committee. I would say, which he's probably going to Jay Pearson and saying, "I need this, and this done," and Pearson's like, "Okay."
Well, who signs his check? President, I guess.
Probably.
I don't know. Right? It's not anybody on the committee, so it's going to be the president.
Yeah, it's going to be, or it could be Rakovich.
Could be Rakovich. True.
Yeah, if Rakovich is signing his contract, Rakovich is all on board for that.
Could be. Yeah. It's just interesting to hear that. I think we're going to see it more across the country. I think coaches are going to. I mean, Tommy Lloyd, that was the big sticking point. It's interesting. I don't know apparently it's not a great personal relationship, or maybe it is, and it's just, this is the way we're going. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like, what is an athletic director's role these days? Unless
raising money is the main thing. Presidents, that's what they want them to be, out trying to be the face of getting more donations to their program, right?
Right.
Fundraisers, that's the main thing. I think from a presidential outlook, I think that's what they want, go out and represent and make sure your coaches stay in line, and hire good people as best you can, but go out and try to find money.
Yeah. And then at the same point, I guess the ADs are still in charge of the other sports.
Yeah, they're supposed to be. Yeah, exactly. I think that's going to evolve. That's going to evolve going forward unless we get some kind of rules in place. Do you see, by the way, I want to ask you, I mean, what President Trump sent down, a lot of people liked what was in there. It's not going to be ever put into any kind of continuity, I don't think. The NCAA is saying they're going to do the 5-year, trying to implement. I mean, I think that's going to get challenged. Do we see any calming down of this so it's not always constantly – give us more. We just can't succeed without more money. What do you think?
I will say that I'm going to echo David Teal in saying that probably the one thing that the executive order, which again, it's not law,
Right.
it's just basically saying, hey, this needs to happen. Regulating agents is a big deal because
100%.
If you can regulate agents and regulate how much they take out of the pockets of these athletes, or shall I say, before the money gets put into the athlete's pocket, actually making sure there's more going to the athlete versus, oh, I'm going to take 40%. And you can say, oh, I'm making $1 million in NIL, but the thing is, you're only making $600,000 before taxes. If you can regulate that, where agents have to be certified, and that goes back to collective bargaining. Now it's like, oh, agents can only take as representation like 5% or something like that, where the student athlete gets more. That might mean they might transfer less because they're actually making more than they're making close to what they say they're making, right? You might have, like, in the instance of, you could have had Ben Hammond leave and he goes and makes some more than what he was making at Virginia Tech, and it actually ends up being more in his pocket because I don't know the relationship between the agent with him, but
yeah. It's just, and I guess it's just the fear of litigation, but I don't understand why it seems like almost everybody who should be making the rules are so afraid of the athletes. And it's strange to me. It's this time that we're in where they've gotten it's things flipped around so violently in a 180-degree angle toward the favor of the athlete, and nobody wants to do anything to. It's strange to me. What do you think, man? And that's what I don't understand. Couldn't the SEC, couldn't Sankey, couldn't they just sit there and go, you know what? And Petiti go, this is what we're doing. All right, we've talked to all of our member institutions. There will be a salary cap for. They could do that, and nobody could hurt them legally, could they? Because it's their league. There's no law in place, like you said.
Yeah, but then it comes down to collective bargaining. If you're going to have a salary cap, you need to do collective bargaining so that way these contracts, essentially year-to-year contracts, don't get out of hand. But then you're going to want commitment, and you're going to say, well, we want you to have multi-year deals, or else it's going to turn into a Darian Mensah situation where he has to buy out of his contract with Duke.
Right.
And then go to Miami. You need something in place. And again, this goes back to, do we call them employees or do we call them students?
Right. They're employees.
And
that's right.
When I, at George Mason, worked at the university bookstore, I was considered an employee.
Correct.
Because I brought in, because they paid me.
Right.
So if you're being paid directly by the university, you have to view it in a prism of an employment. You might need to do some workaround where you say they're still students, but they are getting paid like employees, and in some cases better than employees on campus, and find a way. Then goes, you need collective bargaining. You probably need, again, salary cap. And does the salary cap include the rev share and NIL, or do you just cap rev share to make sure no one goes above it and you don't regulate NIL? Do you make sure your NIL deals are what they were intended for, the student athletes to benefit from their name, image, and likeness, or does it remain pay to play? Because that's what it has turned into.
That's all it is. Yeah. You're right, though. That's a great point you make. This whole employee thing to students isn't new. When I was working for West, when I did women's basketball at Radford my senior year, I had an employee contract to get paid for the games I was doing, and I was still a student at Radford. So what's the difference? Yeah, exactly. That's a great point you make. Yeah, we had employment. We had contracts.
Yeah. And when I worked at the student newspaper, I got, yeah, Chris. The agents in the college realm are essentially stealing from these players.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's 40%, but it's a pretty high percentage compared to what NBA and NFL and professional agents.
Dwight Vicks talked about that. He said it's just such a racket. Yes. 100%.
Oh yeah, and Dwight Vick knows this because he's got a son who's going through this.
Yeah,
he
would know because he's committed. He hadn't announced it yet, but he does have his school. I don't know what school it is. I haven't asked, but yeah,
I think it's Division II program.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah, he came from Wingate. Yeah, so he's at a place.
I'll say his son is way better than where he's going right now.
I know he's good, man. He's good.
He's
so
good.
He'll know exactly the rate. So I'll get into that with him tomorrow. But you're right.
It's agents are charging an exorbitant amount because these kids, like, in their families, they don't know anything about, like, oh, well, what should this look like? Because there's no collective bargaining.
Right.
Maybe Chris is probably one of those parents that's smart enough to make sure his kid doesn't.
Yeah, knows what to look for. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard some instances where it's a high percentage that these agents are charging these kids to represent them.
Yep.
And I know Malik Willis, when he was at Liberty, he was represented by an NFL agent during his final year for the NIL negotiations, and that's one way you can go. So
now, I guess the court's rule in the kids' favor now because they're not employees.
Yeah.
They're student, right?
Yeah. And Morris, I'll say this: 10% is still higher than most agents make off the contracts of these professional athletes.
Yeah.
Like that's about double. So you have some agents that are really swindling these kids.
No question.
So again, it goes down to, do we scrap the designation, say, hey, you are employees, you're allowed to collective bargain, you're allowed to have protections in place, so that way agents can only charge you this percentage. And then again, salary cap, and that goes back to the College Sports Commission. They have such a backlog for NIL cases that they have no idea, what's going on. Like, in terms of, is this deal legit or not? Again, if Quayshawn Brown were to get paid by a queso company, because that's his nickname, and he were to show up on ads for,
that's what NIL was supposed to be, right there.
Exactly. You see the Boozer Twins on like Android ads and State Farm ads. Arch Manning was on a bunch of clothing ads and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, that's what NIL is for. And if you can find a way to regulate that, and again, salary cap.
Tebow says just let Louise Baker as his agent. Yeah. I agree with you, Tebow. She'd be great. Yeah, why do courts rule the way they do? What is the biggest pushback again? What are they afraid of to make these athletes employees? I mean, I don't know. I don't know where it comes from that all of a sudden you can't. I mean, I would think that would be an open and a discussion people will have open minds about, right?
Well, it's the university presidents. They don't want to change the designations for them, because then that means, we are truly profiting off them.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Chris brought up a really good point for that. That's a good deal.
3% on the NIL deal and 10 to 50% on endorsements.
The 10 to 50 seems a little like that's kind of high on endorsements, I would say. But again, that might be the going rate right now.
And
he's right. They don't want to have to deal with a collective bargaining agreement, specifically agents and universities.
But there has to be one, doesn't there? There has to be one.
You would have to have a collective bargaining agreement over everything. And do you think each conference is going to agree to the same collective bargaining agreement?
No, they're going to be different rules. But this is professional sports now. They've allowed this to become professional sports, so you can't keep trying to pretend like this is a college sports entitlement. You can't keep having college rules associated with this, or amateur rules, if you will, because this is now pro sports. I mean, it's what it is. That's what it is. 15% on 1,500 endorsement deal is pennies in the legwork that the agent does, is what he's saying. So, Chris sounds like an agent. I think Chris is an agent. He knows.
Or Chris has read through contracts that some of us are not privy to.
Yeah.
And Chris might be one of those that goes through line by line and is like, okay, this needs to be changed. This needs to be.
Chris has learned it. Yeah, Chris has read this thing. That's pretty cool.
Chris is probably one of those that's like, oh, you're not coming in and swindling my kids. I'm going to make sure.
That's right. Chris, that's good.
Hey, let's put Chris in charge of some of this stuff. He'll know what to do.
Yeah, Chris. We need to let Chris be our NIL guide here on the our pay for play guide here on the program.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Chris is one of those. He's on top of this. But there's some other situations where you can take it. Like some of these agents probably say they can take advantage of these kids because they don't have parents like Chris, or people who look after kids who will look through line by line and say, you're not taking advantage of my kid like this.
Yeah.
And there are some parents where it's like, hey, oh great, we get some money now. We'll sign whatever, and the agents can take advantage of them.
Sorry, Chris. Chris, we told on you. Sorry. He's telling us. Shh.
No, but again, Chris is one of the good ones, and that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And that helps.
Yeah.
With that, but again, Chris is one of the few examples of we're going to make sure everything's right. But you have some families that are like the agents come in and take advantage of the families just because it's like, hey, you got some money coming in.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, and that's why I've heard the numbers have been so high in terms of what agents can take from families in terms of these NIL and endorsement deals. And Chris is probably savvy enough, and he's got the knowledge to go through these and say, okay, no, you're not doing this.
Now, the kids pay their own taxes.
Oh, the kids pay their own taxes.
Yeah, I know that for a fact.
You notice these programs are now having some financial literacy classes.
Correct. All of our guys last year that we brought in and paid went through all that with tax. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Because, you don't need to be blindsided with, oh, I'm going to spend all this money and not save anything for taxes.
Correct. Correct. And they have to
he's right about the structure.
Yeah, that's what they learned about who to claim, how to file, get it ready to. Yeah, exactly, to make the most money.
I'm going to put a big fat 0 on dependents.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly, Chris, what we did at Radford with those guys. I remember they went in and talked to a financial person.
Right, and you have to look at your tax percentage, make sure it lines up with state and federal.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that way you're not ending up.
Taxation is theft. Taxation's theft.
Well, Tebow's right. We all get killed on taxes. I just have to. I mean, I had an accountant that told me, "Hey, look at your marginalized tax rate and make sure it's above the state requirement," and that might mean you have to put 0 on there. Again, finances was a mandatory high school course for me. Like I had to learn. Like I had a class where they taught you how to write a check, how to balance a checkbook, how to balance your income, what to look for, taxes, all that stuff.
Yeah. It's fascinating, man. It's fascinating. It's not good, but it's fascinating.
So, all right, Andrew, I'm going to make a point here. If we do with the contractor stuff, it's going to turn into what WWE was during the Vince McMahon days, because he didn't have any employees. They were only like contractors. That could work because I mean, it worked for a company like that, and
that's true. They all had their. You're right. They were sub. He considered them just sub. That's right.
They weren't employees. They were
members,
technically considered contractors. That
that's
could
true.
be a way to go.
I learned that during those A&E wrestling biographies. I didn't know all that
Oh, yeah.
until I saw them. Oh, okay. That's an interesting
And
business model. Yeah.
I do wonder who is in charge of the Department of Education right now.
Who? I don't even know.
Linda McMahon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Who would know something about contract, like having
Maybe.
subcontract contracts?
Really? Okay. I didn't realize she was the. I have no idea. I have no idea.
I forgot today was tax day. My taxes have been done long ago.
I know, right? Today's the drop dead date. I guess you can get an extension. You can file and get.
You can,
but,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a refund that was like, but
of course, yeah, exactly. At least you're not owing. If you don't owe, it's a good day. It's a good day.
Yeah, last few years I've been owing, and then
we
had someone was like, "Hey, you need to watch your marginal tax. You need to watch the tax margins here." And my wife and I changed everything up, and all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, we don't owe anything."
Great. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, man. Well, good stuff. Finally, let me ask you, what's your final prediction? What do you think it's going to be like in terms of spring game attendance on Saturday, with the weather looking nice and hot, actually mid-80s? Mid-80s.
I've been thinking about that, and what I think I was like one of those at the 40,000 mark. I think it's going to be. I could see 50, and this is one of those where it's like. It's going to be a high of 83 at 3 o'clock, and it's going to be 80 when the game's over. And it's still going to be in the high 70s for softball and baseball. So you might get a whole lot of people come out because then they can funnel to softball and baseball, and the weather's going to be great.
What time are those games? Later on in the evening?
Yeah, I think softball's at 6, baseball's at 7, something along those lines.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And baseball's got some momentum after the combined no last night. Softball is ranked, I think, number 10 in one poll, and we should know about the Bree Warren situation because the judge, James Turk, is from the Circuit Court in Montgomery County, is supposed to rule on that today before the Tech softball game at Liberty.
Well, we'll see what happens out of that too. Yeah, that's true. That happens today, you say?
Yeah, it's supposed to happen today before the game. So, again, I don't know if that's going to get Bree Warren on the field because Tech's rolling, but it'll give Pete Delmore an option off the bench.
Well, I saw him up at Radford. They've got, in my opinion, everything they need to be a College World Series team. They really
finally.
do.
Yeah.
I think they're that good. I think they could be. They got the pitching side, which is great, and they hit. That lineup doesn't have a weak spot.
Yeah.
They could host a super regional again, make it through that. I could see that happening for Pete's team.
Yeah.
I really could. So,
and again, like I'm going to say it's going to be closer to 50. Might even be more than that, depending on families now saying, "Oh, I'm going to go down. I can bring my kids down because it's free, and parking is first come, first serve. So It's free, entry's free. I think the only thing you have to pay for is concessions. So, yeah.
Well, have fun on Saturday, my friend, and we appreciate.
Oh yeah, I'll get there plenty early. Enjoy it, and hopefully everyone enjoys it. I mean, it's going to be it's not going to be televised, so it's going to be an opportunity for fans. That's another thing. It's not televised. So that's one way to draw fans there because it's going to be the first chance to see Ethan Grunkemeyer in person.
Yep.
I would not expect Jeffrey Overton to get a lot of carries because you don't want him to get hurt. I don't think Marcellus Hawkins is going to play, so you might see some Tyler Mason and Bill Davis run, but there'll be a lot of passing in this one.
Yeah, it will be.
Just because I think you want to see what you have at receiver behind Aiden Green and Quayshawn Brown. Marlon Jackson's not playing, but you kind of want to see the strides
Yeah, yeah.
Keelan Adams is making, Chance Wiggins is making.
Yeah. All right, brother. Having fun this week and looking forward to getting your report next week.
Absolutely. Talk to you guys then.
All right, man. Stay safe. There you go. Damien Sordelet from the Riddick Times joining us. Good stuff. Getting you ready for the spring game. Good conversation, by the way. Chat is exploding today. Our McClellan chat room. Man, that's fun. That's fun. Great points as always. Even if you differ on things, it doesn't matter. We all have opinions. Joining us now on the program, he is the Hall of Famer, David Teal. What's up, DT? How you doing, brother?
Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, a lot going on, man. And I guess, first of all, right off the bat, I wanted to get your take just on the tech financiers were talked about. We found out President Sands is going to retire a little early. Just some of your overview on that as you took all that in coming out of Blacksburg, I guess, throughout the weekend and on Monday.
The presentation that Whit Babcock made to the board, I didn't see any news there. This has been coming. Now, Jay Pearson and his group that are kind of overseeing the athletic department and Jay's insistence that things need to move quickly. Yeah, I can see where that would perk people's ears up. But I think the bigger news is clearly Tim Sands, just for the university writ large. I think it would be a mistake to frame this solely through the athletics frame. Virginia Tech is a $2.5 billion annual enterprise. Athletics doesn't even hit 10% of that, not even close. So it's much bigger picture than that. But Tim Sands and Whit Babcock have been joined at the hip for a dozen years now. The longest serving presidential athletic director tandem in the Power Four. So the fact that Tim is going to leave perhaps earlier than his contract called for, it goes through next year. I don't know how long Tech envisions the presidential search to take. They can be accelerated or they can take quite a bit of time, depending on the institution. But clearly there will be, whether there is athletic director change or not, the presidential transition will impact athletics and Whit Babcock.
100%, as it should. And we, like you said, 12 years, that's a long time together. No question about that. And, and people have asked about, James Franklin, everywhere he's gone, he's talked about that alignment has to be, right there with the president. So I'm wondering if this was he expecting this, or did he give you any indication that he knew this was coming, or have you talked to him about it at all?
I haven't talked to him about it at all, but I think we all knew this day was coming. Tim Sands is 67 or 68 years old.
Or this early, I guess. Yeah.
His contract expires next year. He was never going to be there, I don't think, long term. Presidents at universities have a shelf life. So I don't think this surprises James Franklin in the least.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And you make a great point. I mean, everybody's looking at this through the athletics view, the athletics lens, but the university represents a whole lot more than just what goes on with James Franklin's football program.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times fans kind of forget that because it's what we talk about and what people focus on. But it's going to be interesting. But you're right. I think it was interesting to see that despite all the money, and I guess if you add it all together year to year, they had the most money they've ever raised. It's $280 million being infused into everything, and they're still saying, well, we're falling behind. So
well, it's well, I think it's 239 if I remember the figure correctly. And it's a 4-year infusion,
right?
And so it's not in a lump sum, and much of it hinges on fundraising. So it's not like they're just going to the bank and withdrawing from the savings account or cashing in a bunch of endowment money. No, this is a process, and yes, they're going to have the LED lights and the scoreboard up and running for the VMI game. Again, I don't think this is much of a surprise. We knew it was coming. They're going to do the indoor with heating and maybe air conditioning as well. We'll see. But This is not just wave a magic wand and it all gets better.
Yeah. I just wonder how much the fans are going to continue to be able to give, not only at Tech, but across the country.
Correct.
Because it doesn't seem to be anything in sight that's going to stop this anytime soon. So I hope I'm wrong, but I don't. Even an executive order kind of got ignored. It got kind of pushed to the side. So
well it should have. It's toothless.
Yeah, and I don't see the NCAA ever having anything. Speaking of toothless, to be able to say we're going to all of a sudden change the way things are. Right? That's just me, but we'll see. What about Saturday? You gonna be at the spring game at Tech for the first one? Where are you gonna be Saturday?
Yeah, I'll be in Blacksburg.
What do you think? Everybody's talking about the crowd. It should be pretty big, right? Warm. It's going to be sunny and got a lot going on. First one for James Franklin. Should be a big crowd, I would think.
Well, he sure hopes so.
I mean,
he's calling for him to sell it out. I have my doubts, but he wants to put on a show, not only for the fans but for prospects. I'm sure it'll be a large recruiting weekend for the Hokies, and as much as we in the media and fans and coaches as well have kind of nudged high school recruiting to the side as we all obsess over transfer acquisitions, there is a foundational piece that I think everyone would acknowledge needs to be built through the high school ranks. And spring games are a big part of that recruiting pitch. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see the crowd, and everybody will look at the quarterbacks as well they should. This is your first look at Ethan Grunkemeyer and Bryce Baker at Virginia Tech, and then Bo Perbula and Eli Holstein at UVA, and those spring games will be going on simultaneously.
That's right. And speaking of our neighbors in Charlottesville, congratulations, Tony Elliott. Much deserved extension after his, make it or break it year. They made it and then some, showing up in the ACC title game. And we kind of anticipated an extension. So he's going to be around for a while down at UVA.
And he's contracted.
Well, okay. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. He's contracted to be around for a while. Yeah. What have you heard, by the way, about their how did they do in the portal? I haven't heard a whole lot about their players and so forth. I know the quarterbacks obviously were kind of publicized, but I'm guessing he did a great job evaluating. You and I have talked about that, the guys they brought in last year. I wouldn't think that would change a whole lot, right? His evaluation skills are pretty sharp for guys.
No, he and his staff, although his staff took a big hit this week with news that Tyler Jones, the de facto general manager of the football program, is headed to a deputy AD job at Stanford. And Jones and Elliott worked really well together. And Elliott's supposed to meet with reporters tomorrow. I'll be interested to hear what he has to say about how they may restructure in the wake of Tyler's departure. But yeah, their transfer class isn't as big as a year ago. Last year, out of necessity, it needed to be big. And I'm not sure that this particular group will be as impactful. But when you look at some of the guys they brought in last season who are still around through injury, especially on the offensive line, and Monroe Mills at tackle and Michaelan Thomas at guard, those were supposed to be starters last season, and they missed because of, I believe, an ACL and a foot respectively, and now they're back. And Virginia has perhaps the most seasoned offensive line in all of the Power Four.
Wow.
And when you can trot out something like that, you got a chance.
Because one of the big conversations now, what's Tech's offensive line going to look like, right? Do they have enough to not have that as a major question in Charlottesville? That's huge.
Yeah, and it's not a major question for the first time in memory.
Yeah,
in Charlottesville,
that's
building offensive lines takes time.
Yeah, it does.
And often And then after you hit it and you peak, then maybe you have to reset. But Virginia right now is incredibly well positioned on the offensive line for the 2026 season.
Michael Malone down in Chapel Hill. Wanted to get your take on that. Obviously not their first choice, but he's a guy that has success in the NBA. He's got a daughter down there in Chapel Hill. He's already made a big roster move. What do you think about Michael Malone and that fit down in North Carolina?
Well, the fit is interesting just because, as we knew, Carolina went outside the family. And I thought Malone was very deft in his news conference to embrace that and say, yes, I am the outsider.
Yeah.
But I appreciate and understand and actually know about the Carolina heritage. But don't be worried if we do things differently. That's okay. And Mike Malone is going to do things differently. I went back to my 1998-99 Virginia media guide and Pete Gillen's first year on the job, and there's his ops guy, Michael Malone, whom he brought from Providence. And soon thereafter, Malone pivoted to the NBA, and he hasn't been in the college space since. But this is a guy who won consistently in Denver. His last 7-8 years, they won at least 47, 48 games every regular season. Obviously, with the Joker, they won the 2023 world title. This is a guy who is an incredibly credentialed basketball coach. They are giving him the resources. Heck, he's making on average $8.3 million for the next 6 years. And oh, by the way, they've guaranteed him $6.75 million in rev share alone.
Wow.
For the roster. I mean, that's in his contract. Then you add NIL on top of that. Carolina's going to be one of the most well-financed rosters in the sport. And you put his chops with those resources and Carolina's heritage, they're going to be okay. This is not Bill Belichick surrounding himself with NFL cronies, and he has no other options because the NFL wouldn't have him. Michael Malone was going to have NBA options this offseason, plenty of them. He chose North Carolina when the Tar Heels came calling. Was he their first choice? No, as you mentioned. But this is very different from the Belichick hire. It's not that desperation from both parties. And I think it's got a chance to work. And if they can keep Henry Vasar to pair with the likes of Neo Abdallas as they build this roster, they could be good sooner rather than later.
And he won't have any problem adjusting to the new realities of college athletics coming from the pros. He's dealt with that already, so he'll be well schooled with how to handle putting this roster together.
Yes, but they don't have annual free agency in the NBA.
Yeah, that's right.
There's annual free agency in college basketball. And that's why he's been so smart. He's not surrounding himself with NBA people. He's hiring a staff of college people. He's hired Kim English, the former head coach at Providence, and George Mason, who, as a player, was an all-conference guard at Missouri not that long ago. He's brought in an associate head coach who worked for Calipari at Arkansas and Kentucky. He's retained Sean May and Pat Sullivan from the previous staff. So it's not like this is just going to be a bunch of NBA guys trying to figure it out on the fly.
Yeah, that's smart. That's very smart.
Very smart.
Very smart. So it just seems like at first you kind of was like, okay, you didn't expect that to be the name, but then you start, like you say, breaking it down. You're like, okay, it kind of fits. It kind of fits more than you thought. And I think the Belichick thing makes it. Yeah.
I wrote a column about it that's up online now. It's in the paper this morning.
Oh, okay.
About how they absolutely have a chance to turn this.
Okay, we'll check it out. Well, man, listen, have fun in Blacksburg on Saturday. We appreciate you as always. Safe travels. I'll be interested to get your take once you see it all unfold in the first spring game for James Frankel. So.
Shorts and T-shirts weather, man.
It is, man. It's mid-'80s. You love it. We all love it.
Yeah, I will be dressed accordingly. Trust me, it's a spring game.
Yeah, you don't need to button up for the spring game. No, it's practice.
No, sir.
It's practice. It's practice. All right, man. Safe journeys.
All right, have a great week, Rick.
Thanks, David. You too. Good stuff. David Teal joining us on the program. Send our next guest, Matt Roan. We're going to ask him some of these questions, man. Some of these challenges. Great questions coming from our peeps about what do we do. Let's see here. All right. I'm going to send him an invite. I'm going to let the kitty out. I'll be back. All right. Now we're back in the New York groove here. All right. Sorry about that. Got to take care of the guy, though. Yeah, let him in and out when they need to. All right. Great stuff there from David Teal, as always. And it's always great stuff from our next guest. Joining us now, he is the Director of Athletics, the James Madison Dukes. His name's Matt Roan. He's on the road again.
I'm on the road this morning, so yeah, I'm a little change of scenery here.
Kind of cool now. Where are you moving? Are you traveling for business or pleasure?
I'm still in Harrisonburg. I've just got some different stuff. I was coming from something. I couldn't get back to my office in time. Then I've got to go to something once we wrap up. So I figured, why not just knock it out in the car?
All right. So how much time do you have? I don't want to keep you here. I want to make sure we get you.
I'm good. I've always blocked out from 8 to 8:30. So you just let me know how long you need me.
All right. Well, a lot of stuff, man. First of all, you're about to wind up spring practice. We've been talking about spring games. How about the one that's shaping up for the Dukes coming up? And with Coach Napier, his first one.
Yeah, we're several practices in now, and I think we wrap up next Saturday. So that's the 25th, and just a busy week on campus, obviously, with board meetings, obviously leading into the spring game. Then a couple weeks later, we'll have commencement. But I had the chance to go out to practice yesterday, and really some live scrimmage action yesterday, and it's what you expect, right? Defense is always a little bit ahead of the offense at this point of the year, but we're optimistic. I think I told you that last time. I think we're a well-coached group. I think he put together a phenomenal staff of coaches and support staff. I think we have recruited at a very high level, and I think the CFP helped us in that regard, right? It probably introduced a different caliber of kid than maybe we're accustomed to JMU. And so you're seeing that on display, but I think we're a well-coached, talented team. And yesterday's scrimmage was a lot of fun. And I think already, right, they're getting tired of playing against one another.
Sure.
But we've got 5 months to go until we get to play somebody else right now.
Well, and I think that's a great point, because you may have a new coaching staff, but the bar has been set now for your program, right? People are going there. Obviously, they're going to want to get paid because that's what's happening across the country, but you have resources that are helping that regard as well. But they know this program is one that they can come in, contribute, and be a winning program. And that, like you said, being in the part of the college football playoff can only help all those things.
Yeah, it was really encouraging, I think, obviously for Billy, for me as well, to hear him say this. But and I might have shared this with you before, but when he got here, I'll use round numbers, right? 50 new players, 50 returners. And the returners said time and time again, right? They came back and they love this place because of the expectations, because of the standards. They feel this moral obligation. They feel this personal obligation to live up to that, right? To make our fan base proud. The newcomers come in, and some of which have played against us before. Some of them have played at other schools and maybe looked at JMU with some envy. Some of them have played at autonomous force schools and saw what we were able to accomplish that maybe the previous program was not. And they said, I want to be a part of that. So, we don't run away from the expectations here. We embrace them. I think the expectations are what make the program what it is, right? You strive for excellence, you live up to it. And that was encouraging for us to hear just how important that was to them to not take a step back. But, how can we get back in that 12-team field? And then, who knows, maybe we can win a game.
Absolutely. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Why not build on it? Instead of everyone wants to assume that a school like James Madison earns its shot, that immediately they're going to fall back. Why? Why does that have to be the mentality, right? You build on that just like anybody would build an NFL team going to the playoffs, unexpectedly as a wild card, and they do okay, they lose. Why not build on that for the next year? And that's what you guys are looking at. Exactly.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot, and you hate to always compliment people that you compete against, but one of the places that we compliment is Boise State, right? Boise State is not Boise just because they beat Oklahoma in a Fiesta Bowl. Boise is Boise because they've gone to the Fiesta Bowl and they've gone to, then it was BCS. Since it's now CFP, like they've been in those games and they've won those games, right? They've been very respectable in those games. And so as that's somebody that, modeling our football program after them, wanting to have that type of success, that's the next step for us as a program and our evolution is to get back to the CFP, not once, but not twice. I feel like LeBron saying that, right? Not one time, not two times, not three times, but it's getting back there, regularly and being in that conversation, probably more importantly, every year, right? And we've got a schedule, we've got the resources, we've got the talent to be able to do just that. Now you have to have some luck and you have to stay healthy. Football's an odd game in that regard. You have to have a lot of things line up for you, just like we did this past year, to actually get into that. But why not? Why not strive for it?
We've had a lot of conversation, about the structure of where we are, and you'll always have things well thought out. We had the executive order that's not going to have any effect, probably. David Teal just said that's not going to have any teeth. The NCAA tries to say we might think about doing this. I don't see that being something that's going to implement any kind of change. Do you foresee anything coming down that's going to change anything about the way schools have to do business nowadays with this unlimited transfer, everybody with their hand out, even high school players? Do you see anything coming that might try to regulate this at all?
Rick, I'll say I'm an optimistic person, right? I do. I think too many people, whether it's players, coaches, staff, administrators, campus communities, fans, right? There's too many people that care about college sports. It is in some ways, it's a public good, right? There's communities all across this country who model their plans on a Tuesday night for a basketball game or a Saturday afternoon football game because of what takes place on that college campus. And so I think college sports are way too important to neglect. I think they're way too important to ignore, and just kind of continue to maybe stick our heads in the sand. What I will say, with respect to the executive order, I think it shows Congress a roadmap for what the executive branch expects and maybe what it would sign off on. Hopefully it's a little bit of catalyst to kind of get that process even further down the line, right? There's a lot of efforts that are being made, whether it's work in committees, whether it's, different coalitions, whether in the House or the Senate, to try to advance some sort of measures. I think there's a lot of good people right now that are in the room, former Hall of Fame coaches, the NCAA, like administrators around the country, right? Presidents and ADs. So there's a lot of people who are participating in the conversation, more people that are participating in the conversation maybe than ever before, which gives me reason to believe that, albeit slow, right, we are making progress towards some sort of solution. And I think, with that, that builds confidence that you can start to enforce some rules that are for the betterment of the NCAA and, its membership. And so, you saw probably in the last week or two, this, 5-year and kind of 5-year rule before you're, I think, 24 years old. From 19 to 24, you have 5 years to play, right? And so we're getting out of this business of waivers. We're getting out of this business of just kind of this continuation of eligibility forever, indefinitely. Those are all indicators to me that we're at least making progress.
Yeah, I hope that's something that would be a great first step if that gets implemented and there's not any kind of legal battle for it, right? No, literally, I hope that's one that can calms down a lot of this. It's frustrating fans is this free movement year to year, and you don't get to know anybody. It's almost like mercenaries are ruling the roost. So that would be a good thing right there. If that gets,
I think it could, right? And rules are only as good as our ability to follow them. We always say that, and a lot of people point a finger at the NCAA. I'm always quick to remind that the NCAA is a membership organization. So we, the schools, are the NCAA, right? And so when we create rules and we all agree, we have to live by those rules, and we can't sue just when we don't like how a rule is applied to us. And I think that's what we've seen a little bit over the last several years. But again, when I say I think confidence is starting to emerge again, with this, what we call the ghost transfer, right? We had one portal window, and then I think everybody was waiting to see, like, oh, what's going to happen at the end of spring when, school A decides it needs a quarterback and they're going to go after school B, a kid that's not in the portal window. That kid's going to still end up at that place. It's not looking that way because of the monetary fines, but I think even more, a 6-game head coach suspension per transfer that goes onto that next roster. So I think that we're getting back to a place where we're creating some rules and living up to them.
When you first started your journey as an athletic director at Nichols, and now you see where you are at James Madison and how things have changed, the whole climate has changed. What you ever harken back to the days when you started? Did you foresee all this, where it was developing, where it could be headed, or are you just kind of some days sitting back going, "Wow, here we are"?
So I will say I've had people over the years when if I get introduced to someone and they find out that I went to law school, they were like, "Man, great decision." And I always say I'd like to take credit for it, but the reality is it was somewhat of blind luck, right? I knew that a legal degree would help, but I probably didn't realize that it would help in as much as it has, trying to navigate these issues and being able to understand them. I will say for me, and again, I think this maybe goes back to mindset, I'm a pretty optimistic person, and I try to look at everything glass half full. I don't really know what to compare it to, and I think that helps me keep my sanity, right? From 2016, fall of 2016, when I got to Nichols, things had happened, right? Whether it was the introduction of cost of attendance stipends, you saw that we were kind of entering into this, I would say, era of student athlete mobility. Maybe that's an elegant way to say it. And student athlete enhanced benefits. Like, you saw that was happening. Fast forward 5 years after that was the introduction of collectives and third party NIL, right? You get to the summer of 25 and you're dealing with post house. So I think over my 10 years as an AD, I've really seen that evolution. So I don't have anything to say, Rick, that, well, I remember the way that it used to be, right? What it's always been for me is this progression. I think you're seeing people either get out, retire, that can say, I remember what it was like in the early 2000s. I remember what it was like. And I do remember it as a student athlete, and I think it was phenomenal. I think there's so much good about what is happening right now. I'm with you, right? The unlimited transfer, that's concerning, right? That to me is a problem, just because of the things that it teaches.
Yeah.
Student athletes being able to profit off of their name, image, and likeness, I would argue that we were probably 20 years too late, right? Coaches started making $10 and $15 million. Players needed to have some piece, some larger piece of that pie, in my opinion. And so all that to say, you have to embrace change, right? The one thing that stays the same is that everything changes, right? I think that's a country song by Tracy Lawrence that says that. It's true. It is absolutely true. Is what the NCAA was founded in the early 1900s. It's not common sense to think that in 2026 it's going to look and feel the same. It's not going to be the same as it was in the early 2000s, right? But how can we evolve? How can we adapt and still protect what makes it so great? And that's obviously the opportunities that it provides for student athlete. It's the competitive spirit that happens for those people that work in it, but it's the joy and the passion that fan bases and alumni and donors and friends and communities have for their college team.
You've talked about before, Matt, about the great relationship that you have, with your football coaches, but also your president. Tex now just found out that President Sands is retiring here in a couple months. You look back on the success you've had at each place you've gone to. How much has that alignment been so vital to the success that you've enjoyed?
Yeah, I think you saying that, right? I worked for two different presidents at Nichols. I had the opportunity to work for one president at EKU. I worked for a president at JMU for 2 months. Then I worked for an interim president for a year, and now I've been with my next president. So already three in 2+ years, or in just about 2 years here at JMU. Alignment is everything. We here, and I might have shared this with you before again, so I apologize if I'm being
no, you're fine.
Replicating something or duplicating something, but my president, when he was hired, as he was going through the process here, he said one of the very first questions that he got was, do you understand the importance and significance of athletics to JMU, right, and to this community and the student experience? That doesn't happen everywhere.
Yeah.
Sometimes they ignore athletics in that process, right? So we enjoy alignment. It's not just between a president and AD, right? It's a board. It's the rector and the vice rector of the board, right? Then it's the president. It's everybody that's on the president's cabinet. It's athletics, right? It's certainly me, and it's the people that I get to, the team that we have. It's our coaches, it's our staff, it's our student athletes. But again, if it was just us, we can't do it on our own, right? We do rely on business partners. We do rely on donors, alums, and friends. Like the president, I use this phrase, and he's used it some since. It is really hard to have success when people are pulling the rope in the same direction. Success is hard. Everybody can be aligned, and it's still hard, right? Because other people have that too at other places. It's impossible. It is impossible when there's tension there and people are pulling the rope in the opposite directions. And so I have considered myself incredibly fortunate at Nichols, at EKU, and certainly here at JMU, to never have to apologize for athletics, never have to kind of justify our existence, justify my role, justify what it is that I'm asking for, what I'm advocating for. And I think that's a huge part of the reason that we've been able to be successful specifically here. It's because it's embraced that athletics is such a big part of the experience that we provide.
Yeah, and that is absolutely huge. And a lot of places don't have that alignment, because there's always a lot of places have the constant questions. Well, how does athletics fit into the new, it's always it's almost like they try to coexist instead of working in unity together. Right? Campus.
And I always say, it's a value of mine. There are places, there are athletics departments that are much larger, that have, much larger budgets and expenditures and all those sorts of things. And they kind of feel like they exist maybe over here, and the rest of campus is on this other side. I always say to our people, and I remind them, right, we've got to be good partners on campus because we're a part of the institution. We're not apart from it.
Right.
I absolutely believe that, we are the front porch. We are the back porch, right? We introduce people to campus. We welcome them back, in a lot of ways when they come home. But there's a lot of things that are happening inside that house in the middle that is important, right? It's the teaching, it's the research, it's the service, it's the learning, it's just the growth that happens with, in our case, a 23,000 student body population. You have to understand kind of your sense of place, I think, and lean into that. But again, I go back to alignment. It's an overused phrase, but we absolutely have it here.
Well, and the success that you've had, I mean, you go back to what Coach Beamer and the success he had at Virginia Tech and how enrollment would increase. I remember seeing so many stories, so many conversations with Jim Weaver, the late Jim Weaver, about all that. I mean, it directly contributed to the financial boon of the university because, hey, Virginia
100%.
Tech football, here comes Michael Vick. Let's go there to school. And I'm sure you're going to see that. Team just played in the college football playoff. James Madison football. I mean, kids get excited about that. You never know what little thing might trigger them to go to their family and say, this is where I want to go to school. So,
yeah, they see that, right? They see on TV, they see our brand out there. They see when we play on TV, right, how much fun our students are having inside the stadium. We're winning. That always helps as well, right? The only thing I think worse than maybe apathy would be a bad football program, right? That could negative recruit for you, or a bad athletics department. But yeah, we had 44,000 applications this year for our early enrollment decisions. That a lot of that had happened even before the CFP, right? Young men and young women had turned in their applications, and so I don't think that we'll realize the impact of the CFP for quite some time, right? I think it'll be years because freshmen saw that, sophomores saw that, right? What is going to be that uptick? We had 300, I think, and I might exaggerate this by a few $1 million, but I think it was the advertising equivalency of about $310 million is what that exposure did for us. We can't buy that, right? That's half of our university's budget. There's no way that we could buy that, and so I think the returns will be there for quite some time.
Well, finally, Matt, let me ask you, how impressive you've been, with Billy Neighbor coming from a place like Florida where money was flowing and, they could go out and get players, how he's adjusted his recruiting. Obviously, you have the ability to go out and get some players, but how impressive you've been the way he and his staff have come in to put this roster together you're talking about that you're going to be watching next weekend in the spring game.
Yeah, I was shocked at how fast, I guess how efficiently they were able to do it. Don't get me wrong, whether you've been at Florida, whether you've been at Louisiana, in his case, every coach in America, right, will learn how to spend some money. They're going to spend what you have, and they're going to adjust and adapt pretty quick.
That's right.
But that's what they're paid to do, right? And our job is to equip them, to give them the tools, follow the processes that allow for success, right? And my job is not more complicated than that, really, right? It's how do we give them what they need? We try to give them what they want, and then get out of the way and let them be successful, right? Let them be the subject matter experts. But I was really blown away, right? When you consider one portal window, which I think was January 2nd through the 16th, a 15-day window. Now we had a little bit of time beyond that before ad drops and being able to get people into school here. But I think we official visited 65 kids, Rick. We got commits from about 47, 48, 49 of those. And so they call that a hit rate. I'm learning through this process, right?
Yeah.
That is the hit rate, right? So our hit rate was incredibly high. If we got you to campus, we got you here, right? You committed. And again, I think that goes back to that culture. I think it goes to alignment. It goes to when prospective student athletes come in here, right? They see what we have. And it's not just athletics, right? When they see what our quad looks like, when they see what East Campus, when they see what this community looks like, I think it's easy to sign up to be a part of that. And so when I talk about what I was most impressed about, it was the efficiency, that they knew who they wanted to go get. It was incredibly productive. I can remember standing in Billy's office early on in the portal and, watching that entire personnel team, right? They're watching film. He would walk in and say, hey, let me see Rick Watson. They would pull Rick Watson's film up. He would watch 4 or 5 plays. He'd say, I like that, flexible, very athletic, great hips, all these different things. All right. Then he'd say, let me see boots on the ground. So they're pulling up social media. They're watching this kid lift weights. They're watching this kid do private workouts. Then he says, hey, call, I'm going to give him a shout out here. They're going to say, call Tony Powell, because Tony knows this kid. And Tony told me that he was listening this morning. So that's why I used that name, but call Tony Powell. Let's find out about his character. Let's find out about who he is. Like, does he have the right DNA to be here? So that's one example, but then the accumulation of that, obviously we ran really good official visits. We've got a good staff in place, and that's why that hit rate was so high.
I'm telling you, if you're recruiting Tony Powell's character, we got issues, brother. I'm just saying. Just kidding, TP. We know we love you. Yeah, I feel like this is like an episode of Jerry Seinfeld. Remember comedians in cars having coffee? That's kind of what we're doing with
That's
you
right.
here
That's
today.
what I feel like right now. That's what I feel like right now.
Well, great stuff as always, man. And congratulations. And we'll do it again next month. Get your reaction to the spring game, and we'll see where everything's headed. See if we get any new information about the overview of college athletics. I doubt we will, but who knows? You never know.
You got it. I hope you and the Highlanders have it now that we don't play you anymore. I hope you all have a good rest of your spring.
That's true. That's true.
And yeah, if you need anything from me, don't hesitate. You know where I am. And yeah, I always appreciate being with you.
Oh, we love it, brother. Thanks so much, man. We appreciate you. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.
All right. Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, take care. There you go. Matt Roan. There you go. Director of Athletics, James Madison. Terrific. Great stuff. How about that? We got the car interview from Maddie. Good stuff. TP, I'm just kidding. We love you. We love you. By the way, one thing that wasn't announced yesterday when Tech was having the presser on Monday, yesterday they raised their tuition by 3%. So now the estimated total cost of attendance for out-of-state students is $68,000. This was posted by a site called NIL, not NLI. So I don't know what it is for in-state now, what the estimate would be, but the 3% across the board. And a lot of that's done because of let's increase that student fees to get more money. Yeah. We played them twice. That's why Prometheus. We do a home and home. So then those are over. And Radford won both this year against James Madison. So that's where our coach Alex Square came from, and he was an assistant there. He was the associate head coach at JMU, came to Radford, so he knows that program really well. So we played them in Radford. I want to say it was pretty early on, like early March, and then they just played at JMU a couple weeks ago. So they always do a home and home. So that's what he was saying, that now that those games are done, best of luck the rest of the way. Good stuff today, man. That was a loaded show, man. I mean, everybody was great. Keon Brown got us off to a great start. Damian Sordelette, David Teal, Matt Roan. My goodness gracious. And then all of you in chat and on the text line, all of our great sponsors. I mean, today was big. Please subscribe, like, and share the channel. Again, I hope you appreciate the insight. We got some really good insights today from the reality of what's going on, and it's good stuff, man. Good stuff. I learn something every time we do this show, either from you in chat or on the text line or from our guests, because those of us that work in college athletics, we're just trying to figure this out daily. We do. I need to get more of Maddie's positive mindset. It's not easy, but I need that. And I guess that's part of the secret to the approach of it. Just to try to look at the glass half full as opposed to being half empty. So anyway, good stuff here on a Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow on the Thursday edition. Big Dog Mugs merch coming in 2027, Vic says. Maybe so. Maybe so. Hit me up if you want a t-shirt. They're awesome. $20. Enjoy the rest of your hump day. And we'll see you tomorrow on Thursday edition. Take care, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. Please hit that like button, subscribe, like, and share. Tell people about the show. We'll see you. Be good.